The government will write off bad debts worth up to 10 trillion rupiah, or about 634 million US dollars, distributed by state banks to micro, small and medium scale enterprises, MSMEs, farmers as well as fishermen. However, economic experts have warned that the debt pardon could be misused if a strict requirement is not implemented.
President Prabowo Subianto has officially signed a regulation that will allow state-owned banks to write off bad debts worth about 10 trillion rupiah, or about 634 million US dollars, owed by micro, small and medium-scale enterprises, farmers and fishermen have been accumulated since the 1998 and 2008 financial crisis. With this regulation, MSMEs, farmers and fishermen burdened by the bad debt will be able to continue their businesses. These bad debts have hindered them from securing fresh loans from banks, forcing them to seek riskier loans from alternative sources such as loan sharks. The technical details and the requirements for the debt pardon plan will be further formulated by the relevant ministries and institutions. The government is committed to ensuring effective implementation of this policy, given the important role of MSMEs in the country's economy. The role of MSMEs is quite important in driving the national economy. Currently, there are more than 64 million MSMEs that contribute about 60% of the country's GDP. In terms of workforce, MSMEs are also able to absorb 97% of the total workforce in this country, or around 119.6 million people. Small and medium-scale enterprises Minister Maman Abdurrahman has said that beneficiaries will include MSMEs with up to 500 million rupiah in bad debts and farmers and fishermen with debts of up to 300 million rupiahs. Meanwhile, state-owned bank Mandiri's corporate secretary said the policy aligns with the bank's commitment to strengthening the grassroots economy. The bad debt has already been removed from the bank's balance sheets so that the debt relief will not result in financial loss to the bank. The government's debt forgiveness for SMEs, farmers, and fishermen does have a noble goal because it will help ease the burden of MSMEs, fishermen, and farmers who have been trapped in bad debts for decades. However, despite its good intentions, the debt pardon initiative is also considered risky because it can be misused by companies or individuals who do not meet the criteria. The misappropriation of the debt facility can occur if strict supervision is not implemented, allowing the emergence of parties seeking personal gain from the program. The debt forgiveness initiative can also cause a moral hazard, which can arise when business owners feel safe not fulfilling financial obligations because they hope that their debts will be written off by the government in the future. To prevent moral hazard in the MSME debt write-off policy, a comprehensive approach is needed. One important step that needs to be taken is to apply strict requirements in determining beneficiaries.
Now it's time for us to our discussion of the week. The government will write off bad debts worth up to 10 trillion rupiah, or about 634 million US dollars, distributed by state banks to MSMEs. And joining us today is Ibu Esha Rahbini, Program Director at INDEF and lecturer at Bogor Agricultural University, or in short IPB, and she will talk about the rationale behind the debt relief program. Welcome to Ibu Esha. Thank you so much for being here on Economic Outlook. Now, the government plans to write off 10 trillion rupiah in bad debts to the micro, small, and medium-scaled enterprises. But a lot of critics have been made too, saying that is this going to be fair to the banks and to the government, and is this actually a wise decision? What's your opinion on this?
Yeah, well, first, thank you for having me today. Well, if we look at to the fairness of this government policy, we should look at from the many perspectives. First, from the government perspective, or from the farmers, or also for the banks as well. If we look at for the farmers, we look at how financial access to this group of people, that we know that they have limited access to bank, so it is impacting or affecting their productivity and then also their business as well. But then if we look at to the bank, we look at basically under regulation of P2, Undang-Undang P2SK, or we say number 4, 2023, there is a sense that government would like to increase inclusion, financial inclusion, also to deepening the financial sector. So I think they need more regulation to back up how the bad debt should be, could be removed to make them stronger as well. But we should look at who belong to this scheme. We do not, we have to look at who are eligible to. Either those are affected from COVID or pandemic, or those affected from natural resources. Not all farmers or MSMEs should be allowed to have these schemes. But then we have to look at why government need to do this scheme, because they have priority programs, right, to increase or to strengthen the food security in Indonesia.
Okay, all right. So looking at that, like from the government's perspective, their priority is of course to help the farmers and the people who are working behind the MSME sector. But if we say look from the bank's perspective, and they're saying that this is a really big number to write off, which is 10 trillion rupiah approximately. How much will this affect the banking industry? And again, is this a wise choice and a fair choice in terms of the banks?
Yeah, if we look at the regulation itself, we look at only, I think, state-owned government bank who are to be written off this bad debt. But then this only for the scheme that if they have a bad debt, then they have to have effort to collect. But then if they fail to collect, then they have another step, right, to probably to restructure the debt as well. And until the last effort, they cannot do like collecting the debt, and then they have to write off from these balance sheets. They have already done that, but until now they do not have a choice. They could not rid off absolutely from the balance sheet because there's no regulation on that. So by having this regulation, I think that should be good enough or for the bank to have this decision to really absolutely remove this bad debt. But then if the question is that this kind of bad debt is more than 5 years or 10 years ago, does it really impact on the balance sheet or on the performance of the bank? I don't really think so, because they have like reserves that have been already in the past time to be written off from their balance sheet as well. But then if this regulation impacting on the bank, it's really good because they have fundamentally can do that. Can do remove from the balance sheet.
So are you saying that writing off the bad debt won't have like a major result for the bank's transaction or stability in the future? And will there be any financial losses for the banks as well?
Yeah, the financial loss could be in the after effect. After effect means that a moral hazard that could be, appears after this program, not really because of this, 10 trillion from this bad debt. But the after effect, if there is probability that other people or other groups thinking that, oh, I can do misbehave or doing something bad to the business and I cannot repay back, and then in the future somebody or government would take over this debt as well. So it will be not really good for the stability of financial sectors.
So, Bu Asia, you're saying that in financial terms, like this regulation will not so much affect the government and the banking's stability, but you are more worried about the moral hazard, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
How will then we prevent this from happening again in the future? Because we don't want that moral hazard to happen, and we don't want all the farmers and the MSMEs to take this for granted in the future.
Right. The thing is, we really need to clarify or really identify who are really eligible for this scheme, because not all MSMEs, not all farmers or fishermen could get this, but those are really could not have capability to repay back. Those are affected by COVID, those are affected by natural disaster, who are really cannot afford to pay this back. But then the implementation of this regulation should be, accountable, and also, if not accountable, if not transparent, then somebody or other groups will thinking, oh, it's not transparent, it's not doing well. So I think there's a conflict of interest could put into here, that maybe relatives of the implemented actors could get those schemes, or other who are not eligible could get this scheme as well. That's really bad for the accountability itself.
So how do we make sure that this accountability is in place? I mean, you said we need to have strict requirements. Then how do we ensure, what kind of strict requirements should be implemented by the government to make sure the right MSMEs, the right farmers and fishermen are the ones that get their debt written off?
Yeah, I think a government should or need to, after this regulation have been launched, there should be a technical regulation or technical systematics kind of requirement, and then to be published to the public as well, so everybody know that, oh, they are really eligible for that. Oh, that's why they are need help. That's why they need help to get financial access, so they can support government programs to boost the productivity in agriculture sectors, and also a food security program.
Asia, you mentioned just now that one of the major causes of why all these MSMEs, farmers and fishermen are in debt in the first place is because of COVID-19 majorly. But of course, there are a lot of perhaps training that needs to be done for them. What else can the government do to support them, to make sure that in the future when they do get their loans and they start their business, that this does not happen again, or at least that we can reduce the number of debts that might happen again in the future?
Yeah, you mentioned about the capacity and skill training. So the thing is, not only technical training in terms of agriculture sector, agriculture technical production, but also how they also capable in financial literacy and financial capacity and skills. Because many people, we say index for literacy and inclusion for financial, it's really still below, not really high enough. Only 65% people in Indonesia literate in financial, skills, right? So that's really a big challenge for government, not only to, write off the bad debt, but also how to make them literate in financial, so they know when they borrow some money, they need to repay back. They carefully or responsible in lending some money for their business, not into, not into make this kind of income for their family family matters, but only for the productivity. That's really important.
Okay, Bu Asia, this is one of the major decisions that our President Prabowo has made, and this is within, under 100 days of his government. What do you think of this decision that he has made? Do you think it's going to be really effective and, it's going to have a good feedback for his 100 days in terms?
Yeah, I think this is one of his, initial program for 100 days, because we know that program Hasil Cepat Terbaik or low-hanging fruits for their programs is to make farmers and also MSMEs to have better capacity to make food security in our country as well. So I think this is a good start, but still have a challenges upfront, because we know it's not really easy to implement this program, because we still have many challenges, such as financial literacy of the some groups of people in Indonesia, also their productive capacity in agricultures and fishermen's sectors, fishery sectors need to be upgraded as well.
So the execution we have to
Yes,
see
yes.
next year. All right, Ibu Asia Rabini, Program Director at INDEF and Lecturer at IPB. Thank you so much for our dialogue today, the Economic Outlook.